Galactic Concord ruled almost everything that burned, floated, or breathed among the stars. It was not one empire but many, joined by fear, tradition, and power. For 10,000 cycles, the Concord believed one thing without question. The strongest species ruled. The weakest obeyed. At the center of the Concord drifted the Aurelian Spire, a vast ring world of gold and crystal. Inside it, representatives of 43 advanced species gathered. Some were ancient, their skin like stone. Others were pure energy wrapped in artificial shells. A few had never known war, while others had erased entire civilizations. On this cycle, a new name echoed through the spire. Humanity. A hologram appeared, showing a blue planet, green and alive. Laughter followed. They are late to the stars, hissed Overseer Croth, a towering reptilian warlord of the Vrax Dominion. Chemical rockets. Fragile bodies. Constant internal conflict. Their lifespan is short, said Archivist Thalen of the Ellery, a tall being of light and silk. Their technology is inelegant. Even the ancient machine minds of the Synod Corps calculated the same result. Threat level, minimal. Only one voice remained silent. High Arbiter Zyron, ruler of the Concord, watched the human data scroll past. Wars. Recovery. Innovation. Collapse. Adaptation. Too much adaptation. But the vote began anyway. Earth will be tested, Zyron announced. As all new species are. The test was simple. A challenge. A trial by pressure. The Concord would provoke humanity, economically, politically, then militarily. If they broke, they would be absorbed. If they resisted, they would be crushed. Far away, on Earth, humanity had no idea the galaxy had already decided its fate. Part 2. First Contact, First Mistake. The first alien ships appeared near Jupiter. Massive. Silent. Untouchable by human sensors at first. Panic spread across Earth in minutes. But humanity did not fire. They watched. Then they listened. A signal pierced every satellite, every receiver. A calm alien voice spoke in translated English. Species designation, human. You have entered the attention of the Galactic Concord. Comply and you will be guided. Resist and you will be corrected. In the United Earth Council chamber, leaders argued. Generals demanded weapons be readied. Economists warned of collapse. Scientists begged for time. Then Dr. Elias Monroe, a civilian strategist, spoke quietly. They're testing us, he said. Not for strength. For reaction. Humanity answered the Concord's message with a single broadcast. We acknowledge your existence, the human voice said. We do not consent to your authority. No threats. No fear. Just refusal. The Concord responded by applying pressure. Trade routes vanished. Alien probes disrupted Earth's satellites. Financial systems trembled as unknown algorithms attacked global markets. The Concord expected chaos. Instead, humans adapted. They rerouted systems. Went analog. Built firewalls faster than alien code could break them. Civilian hackers outperformed ancient machine intelligences through sheer unpredictability. In the spire, confusion spread. They are resisting without weapons, Overseer Croth snarled. High Arbiter Zyron narrowed his eyes. Then escalate. Part 3. The battle they should have won. The Vrax Dominion attacked first. 3 warships entered Earth orbit, each capable of burning continents. Human weapons were primitive by comparison. Railguns versus plasma suns. The Concord expected surrender in minutes. Instead, humans did something strange. They retreated. Cities went dark. Fleets scattered. Space seemed empty. The Vrax commander laughed. They hide like prey. Then space exploded. Thousands of small objects activated at once. Old satellites, mining drones, debris humanity had quietly armed over decades. Kinetic kill swarms. No energy shields could stop pure mass moving near light speed. One Vrax ship shattered. The second lost engines. The third tried to flee, and vanished in a human-triggered gravity trap built from experimental physics the Concord believed impossible for a young species. Earth survived. The galaxy went silent. In the spire, Overseer Croth roared in rage. They cheated. Dr. Monroe's recorded message reached the Concord moments later. We didn't cheat, the human said calmly. We prepared. Part 4. The galaxy reconsiders. Fear spread. Smaller species watched closely. The Talori, once enslaved by the Vrax, whispered hope. The Nesker clans, eternal mercenaries, began declining contracts against humans. Human diplomats appeared where warships once ruled. They offered alliances, not domination. Protection, not conquest. And knowledge. Human technology spread fast, not elegant but flexible. Easy to modify. Easy to break and rebuild. Humans shared it freely. The Concord saw something worse than weapons. Influence. High Arbiter Zyron confronted the human ambassador, Amina Rahman, aboard a neutral station. "You disrupt balance," Zyron said. Amina smiled slightly. "No," she replied. "We expose imbalance." Then came the twist. The Synod core revealed hidden data. Humanity was not weak. They were restrained. For centuries, humans had limited themselves. Ethics, treaties, fear of themselves. The Concord had removed those limits. Part 5. War of 1,000 Fronts. The Concord declared humanity an existential threat. Total war. Star systems burned. Human fleets were fewer, but smarter. They used enemy supply lines against them. Turned rival species against one another with truth instead of lies. They fought asymmetrically, unpredictably. Human commanders sacrificed ships, but saved people. Alien commanders sacrificed people, but lost loyalty. One by one, Concord members defected. The Vrak's dominion fell when its own slaves opened the gates, using human-taught tactics. The spire itself came under siege. Not by brute force. By silence. Human fleets surrounded it, and waited. Part 6. The Final Choice. Inside the spire, High Arbiter Zyron faced extinction. Amina Rahman stood before him again. "You could end us," Zyron said. "Yes," Amina replied. "But that's not who we are." She offered terms. The Concord would dissolve. A new council would rise, equal voices. No species above another. Zyron laughed bitterly. "You are apex predators pretending to be saviors." Amina's eyes hardened. "No," she said. "We are survivors who learned mercy the hard way." Zyron accepted. The war ended. Part 7. What the Galaxy Learned. Years later, children across the stars learned a new lesson. Humans were not the strongest, not the oldest, not the most advanced, but they were the most adaptable. They fell and stood again. They lost and learned. They were underestimated and never forgot it. In the new Galactic Assembly, a plaque hung in every chamber. Read. They challenged every species. Then they met humanity. And the galaxy was never the same again. The first alien ships arrived without fire, without sound, and without warning. They slipped into the solar system like shadows bending reality itself. Human telescopes did not see them at first. Radar returned nothing. Gravitational sensors only noticed slight distortions near Jupiter's orbit, small, impossible ripples where space itself seemed to hesitate. Then every satellite on Earth blinked at once. Power grids trembled. Aircraft lost navigation for 3 seconds. Communication networks froze, then resumed as if nothing had happened. That was when the message came. It appeared on every screen, every device, every public display, from phones in villages to digital billboards in megacities. The signal bypassed all encryption, all firewalls, all known rules of physics. A tall, armored figure formed in blue-white holographic light. Its eyes glowed amber. Its voice was calm, ancient, and heavy with authority. "Species designation, human," the voice said. "You have entered the awareness of the Galactic Concord. Your civilization has been observed. Your conflicts noted. Your potential assessed." People across Earth watched in stunned silence. "In accordance with Concord law," the alien continued, "you will now be guided toward compliance. You will share resources, submit strategic oversight, and limit military expansion." A pause followed, just long enough to feel deliberate. "Resistance will be corrected." The image vanished. Chaos did not come immediately. That surprised the Concord. Inside the United Earth Council, alarms rang but no one screamed. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, scientists, and corporate leaders stared at one another across the circular chamber. The room was quiet in a way that felt dangerous. "They didn't attack," one general said. "That means they don't see us as a threat." "They don't need to," another replied grimly. Some demanded immediate surrender. Others argued for nuclear readiness. A few insisted the message was fake, an advanced hoax. Then a man with tired eyes and an unremarkable suit leaned forward. Dr. Elias Monroe. Civilian strategist. No rank. No command authority. "They're not conquering us," he said calmly. "They're measuring us." The room slowly turned toward him. "Every word was calculated," Monroe continued. "They want to see fear, panic, submission, or blind aggression." A general scoffed. So what do you suggest? We sit and smile while gods knock on our door? Monroe shook his head. No. We respond like a species that plans to survive. Within minutes, Earth's answer was prepared. No threats. No weapons. No begging. The broadcast went out on the same channels the aliens had used. We acknowledge your existence, the human voice said. We do not recognize your authority over our species. Any further contact must be mutual and respectful. The message ended. Across the solar system, aboard the Concorde observation vessels, reactions ranged from confusion to amusement. They refused, hissed Overseer Croth of the Vrax Dominion, claws tapping against his command throne. Without even seeing our weapons. They lack understanding of scale, said Archivist Thalen. This is ignorance, not defiance. High Arbiter Zyron watched in silence. Proceed with phase pressure, Zyron ordered. The real test began. Within hours, Earth felt the invisible hand of the Concorde. Global financial markets fluctuated wildly as alien algorithms disrupted currency exchanges. Navigation satellites experienced random failures. Deep space probes went silent. Shipping delays rippled across continents. The Concorde expected governments to collapse under uncertainty. Instead, something unexpected happened. Human systems adapted. Banks disconnected from global networks and switched to localized backups. Air traffic controllers reverted to older navigation methods. Engineers dusted off technology the Concorde assumed obsolete. Analog systems. Human intuition. Improvisation. Human hackers, untrained by Concorde standards but aggressive and creative, began mapping the alien interference patterns. They noticed something critical. The alien systems were powerful, but rigid. They followed rules. Humans did not. Within days, Earth restored most functions. Some even improved. In the Aurelian Spire, concern replaced laughter. They are stabilizing faster than predicted, a Synod core drone reported. Behavioral variance exceeds models. They shouldn't be able to counter us this quickly, Overseer Croth growled. Increase pressure. The Concorde did. Alien probes moved closer to Earth. Trade routes beyond the solar system vanished. Human colonies on Mars and Titan reported surveillance ships hovering silently overhead. Still no attack. Still no surrender. Then something changed. Human scientists began transmitting data outward, open broadcasts of physics research, engineering solutions, and experimental concepts. Not weapons. Knowledge. You see, Monroe said to the council. They think strength is control. We show them strength is understanding. The Concorde intercepted the broadcast. They are sharing restricted information freely, Thalen said, disturbed. No central authority. No fear of theft. High Arbiter Zyron leaned forward. Why would a young species give away its advantages? Because, replied the Synod core after long calculation, they do not perceive knowledge as a finite resource. Silence filled the chamber. For the first time in 10,000 cycles, the Concorde felt something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. Overseer Croth broke the tension. Enough tests, he snarled. If they will not bow, they must be reminded of their place. High Arbiter Zyron hesitated, just for a fraction of a second. Then he nodded. Authorize a limited demonstration of force. Far above Earth, the Vrax warships powered their weapons. Humanity watched the stars darken, and prepared. The Concorde believed they were about to teach a lesson. They had no idea they were about to make their first fatal mistake. The sky above Earth did not burn at first. It dimmed. Astronomers noticed it before soldiers did. Stars near the orbit of the moon bent slightly, their light stretched thin, like reflections in warped glass. Gravity sensors rang alarms that made no sense. Something massive had arrived without crossing space in any way humans understood. Then they appeared. 3 warships unfolded from nothingness, each longer than a mountain range. Their hulls were layered in black and crimson armor, carved with symbols older than human civilization. Energy flowed across their surfaces like slow lightning. The Vrax Dominion had arrived. Across Earth, people watched the giants fill the sky. Some prayed. Some screamed. Some simply stared, unable to believe what they were seeing. Inside the United Earth Council, no one spoke. The military feeds told a brutal truth. Human weapons could not penetrate those ships. Energy shields absorbed test shots without measurable loss. Plasma readings alone exceeded the total output of Earth's nuclear arsenals. They could end us in minutes, a general whispered. Dr. Elias Monroe stood behind the table, hands clasped behind his back. Yes, he said quietly. If they wanted to. High above Earth, Aboard the Vrax flagship Blood of Dominion, Overseer Croth watched the planet through a massive viewing aperture. Oceans gleamed. Cities glowed. Life pulsed everywhere. So small, he said with contempt. So loud. Shall we begin planetary compliance bombardment? His weapons master asked. Crotha's jaws parted in a cruel smile. No. Let them feel helpless first. The Vrax ships fired, not at cities but into space. Their weapons tore holes in orbital space, vaporizing satellites in precise patterns. Communication networks shattered. Defense platforms vanished in silent flashes of light. Human generals shouted orders. Then Monroe raised his hand. Stand down, he said. The room froze. You want us to do nothing? A commander demanded. I want them to believe we are doing nothing, Monroe replied. Across Earth a strange thing happened. Military bases powered down. Fleets retreated into deep space. Defense grids went dark. Cities dimmed their lights. Even civilian networks went silent. To the Vrax it looked like surrender. Croth laughed, a deep, rumbling sound that echoed through the bridge. They break already, he said. Predictable. But beneath the darkness humanity moved. For decades humans had filled orbit with debris. Old satellites, mining equipment, construction frames, forgotten hardware drifting uselessly. Or so the galaxy believed. In hidden bunkers and underground command centers, engineers activated systems never meant to be used openly. Codes written by different nations in different languages merged into one silent command. Operation Stone Rain. Thousands of objects shifted course at once. Not weapons. Mass. Pure brutal mass. The Vrax sensors detected them seconds too late. Unidentified movement, a technician shouted. Multiple vectors, too many to track. Crotha's eyes narrowed. Activate shields. The first impact struck. At near relativistic speed, the object slammed into the lead warship. The shields flared, then collapsed under forces they were never designed to counter. Energy defenses were built to stop plasma, radiation, directed beams. Not rocks moving at a fraction of light speed. The ship's hull ruptured. Entire sections vaporized. Structural rings snapped like bone. Inside, Vrax warriors were crushed, burned, and flung into vacuum. No! Croth roared. Counter-fire. The second warship turned its weapons toward the swarm, but the swarm was everywhere. From above. Below. All angles. Human AI did not control the attack. Human chaos did. Algorithms built to behave unpredictably guided the debris. No pattern. No central signal to jam. The second ship lost engines. Its gravity stabilizers failed, tearing it apart from the inside. The third warship tried to flee. Humanity anticipated that too. Near the edge of the moon's orbit, space itself twisted. A human experimental device, dismissed by alien science as impossible, activated. A localized gravity well snapped shut. The Vrax ship hit it at full thrust. It vanished in a silent flash. Earth watched the sky clear. The warships were gone. For 10 seconds no one spoke. Then cheers erupted across the planet. Inside the United Earth Council, some leaders collapsed into chairs. Others wept openly. Monroe exhaled slowly. We survived, someone whispered. No, Monroe corrected gently. We demonstrated. Far away in the Aurelian Spire, emergency signals flooded the chambers. The Vrax fleet has been destroyed, the Synod Corps reported. Probability of error, negligible. Shock rippled through the Concord. They should not be capable of this, Archivist Thalen said, shaken. Overseer Crotha's transmission cut in, bloodied, furious, alive. They used filth, he snarled. Jug. Chaos. They fight like animals. High Arbiter Zyron said nothing. He replayed the battle data again and again. A young species. Inferior technology. Victory through adaptation. Zyron felt something twist in his chest. Fear. Back on Earth, Monroe addressed the Council one final time that day. They thought power meant being untouchable, he said. We showed them power means being prepared to touch back. Above the planet, human fleets slowly returned to orbit. The galaxy had just learned a truth it could never unlearn. Humanity did not need to be stronger. They only needed to be clever. And the war had only just begun. The destruction of the Vrax warships did not echo like an explosion across the galaxy. It echoed like silence. Trade routes stalled. Military channels went quiet. Ancient empires that had never questioned their dominance paused to recalculate. For the first time in recorded Concord history, A young, unaligned species had defeated a first-tier military power in open space, and done so without using energy weapons. Across thousands of systems, observers replayed the footage. Again, and again, and again. The images made no sense. Debris as weapons, darkened cities as strategy, unpredictability as doctrine. Inside the Aurelian Spire, the Concord Emergency Council convened under sealed protocols. The vast chamber glowed dimmer than usual, as if even the structure itself felt uncertainty. Archivist Thalen spoke first. The Vrak's defeat violates all historical models. Humanity should not possess the industrial depth, scientific maturity, or unified command structure to coordinate such an action. They don't. Overseer Croth snapped through a damaged hololink, one eye burned black. That's the problem. They don't fight like we do. The Synod core projected streams of data, probability trees collapsing one after another. Conclusion, the machine intelligence announced. Human behavior cannot be reliably predicted using standard threat matrices. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. High Arbiter Zyron remained silent. While the Concord debated, the galaxy watched something even more unsettling unfold. Humanity did not celebrate with conquest. They spoke. Human diplomats appeared on neutral stations, independent worlds, and fringe colonies long ignored by the Concord. They did not arrive in warships but in modest vessels, patched, functional, unmistakably human. Their message was simple. We don't want to rule you, the human envoy said. We want to survive with you. On the waterworld Talar Prime, representatives of the enslaved Talori listened in disbelief as a human ambassador explained economic independence models and defensive tactics. No chains, the human said. No tribute. Only choice. On the shattered moons of Nesker, mercenary clans received encrypted files, human battle doctrine, logistics shortcuts, and something far more valuable. Options. Why help us? A Nesker war chief asked, mandibles clicking. The human smiled tiredly. Because someone once helped us when we were losing. Across the galaxy, species long crushed under Concord hierarchy began to talk to one another. Hope spread faster than fear ever had. Back on Earth, the victory had not brought peace. Human fleets worked without rest. Shipyards expanded in orbit, on the moon, and in deep space. But unlike the Concord's massive war temples, human construction was messy, modular, flexible, constantly changing. Nothing was sacred. Everything was adaptable. Dr. Elias Monroe walked through a command center buried deep beneath Earth's surface. Screens showed star maps alive with movement, alien patrols, neutral zones, and dozens of blinking unknowns. We're becoming a symbol, a young officer said nervously. That makes us a target. Monroe nodded. Yes, he said. But symbols inspire more than they threaten. The Concord noticed. High Arbiter Zyron summoned the human representative, Amina Rahman, to a neutral station orbiting a dead star. The meeting chamber was cold, metallic, and surrounded by armed Concord guards. You have destabilized the galaxy, Zyron said, his voice controlled. Amina met his gaze without fear. No, she replied. We revealed it was already unstable. Zyron's eyes narrowed. You arm our vassals. You spread ideology disguised as cooperation. We spread choice, Amina said. Something your Concord outlawed long ago. The Arbiter leaned closer. You are forcing our hand. Amina's expression hardened. You forced it the moment you decided we were beneath you. As she left, Zyron felt something he had not felt in centuries. Doubt. Then the Synod Corps delivered its most disturbing report. Analysis of human historical records indicates a pattern, the machine said. Humanity exhibits exponential growth in capability under existential threat. How extreme? Thalen asked. The Synod paused, a rare hesitation. Historically, it answered, human limitations are self-imposed. The chamber fell silent. Overseer Croth slammed his claw against the hollow table. Then remove the threat, he roared. Total war. No more tests. No more demonstrations. High Arbiter Zyron closed his eyes. He remembered the data, the adaptability, the silence after the battle. Slowly he spoke. If we declare total war, Zyron said, we must accept that this species will change itself to survive. Croth snarled. Then crush them before they do. Zyron looked out across the stars displayed before him. Somewhere among them, humanity was learning, faster than any species in Concord history ever had. Prepare the fleets, Zyron said at last. The Concord chose fear over wisdom. And across the galaxy, alliances quietly aligned, not with the ancient powers, But with the species that had shown the universe a dangerous idea, that even gods could bleed, the Concord did not announce the war. It simply began. Across dozens of star systems, human-aligned worlds went dark. Communication relays vanished. Trade convoys were intercepted and erased without warning. The Concord's fleets did not strike Earth first. They struck everywhere else. They aimed to isolate humanity. They failed. Humanity had already anticipated the move. Weeks before the first shots were fired, human engineers had seeded independent communication networks across neutral space. Small, crude transmitters hidden inside civilian traffic, asteroid belts, and abandoned stations. They were inefficient, slow, and impossible to fully shut down. Messages still flowed. On Earth, Dr. Elias Monroe stood before the War Council, staring at a star map alive with hostile vectors. "They're trying to drown us," a fleet admiral said. "Too many fronts. Too many systems." Monroe nodded. "Good," he replied. "Then we don't fight everywhere." The plan was simple. Do not defend territory. Defend momentum. Human fleets avoided direct engagements whenever possible. When they did fight, they chose the battlefield. Supply depots, jump gates, repair yards, command ships. They never held ground. They denied it. In the Kestrel Reach, a Concord task force arrived to find empty space, and mines made from repurposed human mining charges. In the Osher Belt, human ships lured Vrax cruisers into unstable gravity tides and vanished, leaving destruction behind. Human commanders did not seek glory. They sought exhaustion. The Concord was built on hierarchy. Orders flowed downward, slow but absolute. Human forces operated in cells, semi-independent, creative, free to disobey if it made sense. Concord admirals found themselves fighting ghosts. Worse, they were losing allies. The Talori revolted. Using human training and weapons, they seized Concord garrisons in a single night, disabling shields with old maintenance codes humans had taught them how to exploit. The Nesker clans refused contracts, then turned on their former employers, selling protection to human convoys instead. Even some elder species quietly withdrew fleets, unwilling to bleed for a system that suddenly looked fragile. Inside the Aurelian Spire, tension turned to fury. "They are tearing us apart without facing us." Overseer Croth roared. "This is not war, it is infection." "It is strategy," Archivist Thalen replied coldly. "And it is working." The Synod Corps projected casualty estimates, numbers the Concord had never seen inflicted by a single species. Human losses were high. But human morale did not break. Civilian volunteers filled shipyards. Scientists worked until collapse. Old rival nations on Earth dissolved ancient grudges out of necessity. Humanity unified not through command, but through purpose. Then came the turning point. A human strike group deliberately allowed itself to be tracked into the Valorum Corridor, a narrow hyperspace passage critical to Concord logistics. Concord fleets converged, confident they had finally cornered a human force. They were wrong. As the battle began, human ships detonated their own drives, not as weapons but as signals. Across the corridor, hundreds of human-planted devices activated simultaneously. Gravity mines twisted space. Jump points collapsed. The corridor died. Entire Concord fleets were stranded light years from support. The cost was brutal. Every human ship in the strike group was lost. But the Concord lost something far more valuable: control. When news of the Valorum collapse spread, panic rippled through Concord space. Trade failed. Fleets starved. Political blocs accused one another of sabotage. High Arbiter Zyron watched the chaos unfold from the Spire's highest chamber. "They are dismantling us," he whispered. "No," said the Synod Corps. "They are revealing structural weaknesses." Overseer Croth stormed into the chamber, fury barely contained. "This ends now," he snarled. "Authorize extinction protocols. Burn their worlds." Zyron turned slowly. "And prove them right?" he asked. "That power without restraint deserves destruction?" Croth slammed his claws down. "They will not stop." Zyron knew he was right. Because humanity had crossed a threshold. They no longer fought to survive. They fought to end the system that threatened them. Across the galaxy, 1,000 small fires burned. And at the center of them all, Earth remained untouched, not by shields or fear, but by the simple truth that the Concord no longer knew how to defeat humanity. The war had become something else. Not conquest. Not defense. A reckoning. The war reached a point where even victory tasted like ash. Entire star regions flickered between control and chaos. Concord fleets still outnumbered humanity 10-1, but numbers no longer guaranteed dominance. Every advance came with hidden costs. Every human retreat left traps, political, logistical, or psychological. The Concord had never fought a war like this. They had never fought a species willing to lose in order to win. Inside the Aurelian Spire, the chambers of power felt smaller than ever. Delegates argued openly now, ancient alliances cracking under strain. The trade arteries are failing, Archivist Thalen warned. Entire member systems are within weeks of famine. Our fleets are exhausted, another delegate said. Human raiders strike, vanish, then strike again. Overseer Croth stood alone, arms crossed, scars fresh across his armored hide. Fear is spreading, he growled. End it. High Arbiter Zyron said nothing. He had spent countless cycles believing the Concord was order made manifest. Strong ruled weak. Stability came from control. It had worked until now. The Synod Corps broke the silence. New probability forecast, it announced. Continued total war results in unacceptable outcomes. Define unacceptable, Croft demanded. Galactic collapse, the machine replied. Humanity will survive. The chamber erupted. That is impossible. They are too few. They will burn with us. The Synod Corps continued, unmoved. Human adaptability increases with threat intensity. Ethical restraints degrade under existential pressure. Historical data suggests final state behavior becomes unrestricted. Zyron felt a chill. They will become monsters, one delegate whispered. No, Zyron said softly. They will become what we force them to be. At that moment, an emergency transmission cut through the chamber. Human fleets had surrounded the Aurelian Spire. Not in attack formation. In containment. Thousands of ships, some ancient, some newly built, some barely spaceworthy, held position just outside Concord defensive range. No weapons fire. No threats. Only silence. On Earth, Dr. Elias Monroe watched the live feeds, his face drawn with exhaustion. They're waiting, a young officer said. Why not strike now? Monroe shook his head. Because this isn't about winning anymore, he said. It's about ending the cycle. A single human vessel detached from the formation and moved toward the spire. It was unarmed. Its hull bore no military markings. Inside it stood Amina Rahman. The spire's defenses tracked her ship but did not fire. They could not. High Arbiter Zyron received her in the same cold chamber as before. This time there were no guards. You have us surrounded, Zyron said. Yes, Amina replied. And you have no idea how uncomfortable that makes us. Zyron studied her carefully. You could destroy everything we built. Yes, she said again. And live with it forever. Silence stretched between them. You want surrender? Zyron finally said. No, Amina answered. We want change. She activated a hologram. It showed a restructured galaxy. No Concord hierarchy, no enforced vassalage. A council where power was limited, transparent, and revocable. You ask us to dismantle ourselves? Zyron said. We're asking you to survive yourselves, Amina replied. Overseer Croth burst into the chamber, weapons blazing. This is weakness, he roared. They fear us, strike now. Amina did not move. She turned to Croth. We don't fear you, she said quietly. We fear what this war will turn us into if it continues. Croth hesitated. Just for a second. That was enough. Human fleets did nothing. No threats. No countdowns. No ultimatums. The galaxy waited. The Synod Corps spoke one final time. Recommendation, it said. Accept human proposal. Probability of galactic continuity increases by 63%. High Arbiter Zyron closed his eyes. He thought of the ancient cycles. The crushed species. The silence they left behind. Then he made a choice no arbiter had ever made. He bowed. The Concord, Zyron said, voice heavy, will dissolve. Overseer Croth screamed in rage. But it was over. Outside the spire, human fleets slowly powered down their weapons. Not in triumph. In relief. The war did not end with fire. It ended with restraint. And the galaxy understood something terrifying and beautiful at the same time. Humanity had reached the point where it could have destroyed everything. And chose not to. The war did not end with an explosion. It ended with a decision. When the Concord dissolved, the galaxy did not suddenly become peaceful. Borders did not vanish. Old hatreds did not fade overnight. But something fundamental had changed. For the first time in galactic history, Power had stepped back by choice. The Aurelian Spire was no longer the throne of the universe. Its golden halls were stripped of imperial symbols, its chambers reopened as neutral ground. Delegates arrived not as rulers and subjects, but as equals, uneasy, suspicious, and profoundly aware of what had almost been lost. At the center of the new assembly floated a simple emblem. Not human. Not alien. Just a circle, unfinished. High Arbiter Zyron stood before the gathered species one final time. He no longer wore the mantle of absolute authority. His voice, once unquestioned, now carried humility. The Concord believed order came from dominance, he said. We were wrong. Order without consent is only delayed chaos. Many listened. Some did not. Overseer Croth was gone. The Vrax's dominion fractured within weeks, its client species rising against it using human-taught methods. The once feared warlords became isolated fortresses, irrelevant and fading. Humanity did not chase them. Earth had changed too. The planet bore scars, orbital debris fields, burned-out shipyards, names etched into memorial walls across continents. Humanity had paid dearly for survival. But it endured. Dr. Elias Monroe walked through a quiet park in what was once a fortified command zone. Children played beneath trees grown from genetically restored soil. Above them, human and alien ships shared the sky, no longer in battle formation but in trade lanes and research flotillas. A young officer approached him. Sir, she said hesitant, history councils are asking why we stopped. Monroe smiled faintly. Because if we didn't, he said, we would have won the war and lost ourselves. Human influence spread, not as empire but as standard. Modular technology became the norm. Fail-safe systems. Decentralized governance models. Shared research networks built on transparency instead of hoarding. Alien scientists struggled with human designs. They are inefficient, one complained. Yes, a human engineer replied. But they survive failure. That philosophy reshaped fleets, cities, and societies. Years later, on the former Concord frontier, a memorial station drifted in silent orbit. Carved into its surface were the names of species that had gone extinct long before humanity reached the stars. Amina Rahman stood there, older now, watching a Talori child trace one of the names with careful fingers. Why are they gone? The child asked. Amina knelt beside them. Because no one stopped power when it forgot compassion, she said. The child looked up. Will that happen again? Amina looked out at the stars, at human colonies, alien worlds, and the fragile web connecting them all. Only if we stop remembering, she answered. In the Galactic Assembly Hall, a new tradition took root. Whenever a species reached the stars for the first time, their representatives were shown a single record. Not a battle. Not a treaty. A moment. The moment when humanity, surrounded by fleets and armed with the power to erase civilizations, chose restraint. The recording ended with a simple human statement, spoken without pride or threat. We are dangerous, the voice said. That is why we choose to be careful. The galaxy listened. Some admired humanity. Some feared it. Some resented it. But none underestimated it again. Because the truth had become impossible to ignore. Humans were not the strongest species. They were not the smartest. They were not the oldest. They were the ones who learned fastest when everything was on the line. They adapted. They endured. They decided who they would be, even when the universe tested them. And so, etched into the halls of 1,000 worlds, into data archives and living memory alike, a sentence spread across the stars. They challenged every species. Then they met humanity. And the galaxy, wiser and quieter now, made sure it never forgot what that meant.